horseback, hunting the mighty bison. These are the iconic images of early North America, familiar to people around the world. Here lived one of the greatest horse-based civilizations in history. But that part of the story of the Plains people was short-lived. Horses only arrived on the northern plains in the early part of the 18th century. The dependence of Plains people on the great herds of buffalo goes back much further, over 11,000 years in fact. But without the horse, how did they manage to hunt the vast herds of buffalo? And what did they hunt with? That secret, and the story of those who lived and died here, lies buried deep beneath the ground at Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump.
Long before the arrival of the horse, native people of the northern plains developed a wide variety of ingenious techniques for killing large numbers of buffalo at one time. They drove them into wooden corrals we call pounds. They slaughtered them in great numbers at river crossings. They ambushed them in deep snow in the wintertime. But none of these techniques were more ingenious, more sophisticated, and more dramatic than the buffalo jump. Buffalo were stampeded over the cliffs and head smashed in for thousands of years. This was a really crucial site in the lives of the Plains Indians. It could spell the difference between life and death, the success here at a buffalo jump. We think that there's more than 100,000 animals went over this cliff and met their death here. And there's literally millions of artifacts in the soil here. We found spear points, knives, arrowheads, all the butchering tools they used to cut up the animals. And out on the prairie where the camps were, there were literally thousands of boiling pits and fireplaces where they cooked up the remains of the bison. This is one of the most significant sites in all of Western North America. It's the deepest, the oldest, and the best preserved buffalo jump we've ever discovered. Successful buffalo jump produced an astonishing amount of food, fat, meat, hide, bone, all the products that people took away when they left this site. In fact, when you think about it, nowhere else on Earth, at any point in time, did any people produce more food in a single moment than they did at a buffalo jump on the northern plains. Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump was used from nearly 6,000 years ago until about 150 years ago. Over that vast span of time, enormous piles of buffalo bone and artifacts accumulated here in the shadow of the cliff. Added to that were great heaps of rock rubble that fell down from the walls, silt that blew over the top of the cliff, and dried vegetation that died here at the jump. So over a great span of time, soil built up with all these artifact layers nestled in between it. So much material has accumulated here that artifacts and bones from the great buffalo jumps extend as much as 10 meters below my feet.
10 meters?
So how do we get at these incredibly deeply buried artifacts and head smashed in? What have we found here? And what do these objects tell us?
We are inside Head Bashed In Buffalo Jump, and this time we get to come in and look at the museum. This is part of their dig, or what their dig looked like when they were digging. But let me back up here. Let me back up and let you see what we're looking at. This is a replica of the jump. Okay. And there the buffalo are. Going to go over. Imagine their panic and their fear as they gave their lives for the lives of the Native American people who didn't waste a part. Here's another view of the buffalo going over the cliff. This site was used for about 6,000 years. About 2,000 in the beginning, and then for some reason there was about a 1,000-year period that they didn't use the buffalo jump. They don't really have any idea why, but they know from archaeological evidence that that's what happened. And then the site was used for about another 4,000 years as the buffalo jump. Why did they quit using it? Well, once the natives had horses, the need for running a buffalo herd over a cliff ceased. They were able to get in among the buffalo and shoot them with bows and arrows or with spears. It was
or later with rifles.
Yeah, or later with rifles. So the use and the need of the jump ceased.
Also, the fur or the pelts or whatever you want to call them were not as damaged. And little did they know, these poor dudes, they had about a second more to live.
In the dig, there are no skulls found of buffalo. And the scientists were trying to figure out why there were no skulls here. They found other bones, but no skulls. Studying Blackfoot history, they discovered that the skulls were put out on the prairies in circles to tell the buffalo which direction to come to help the native peoples. It took about 16 to 18 hides to make a teepee. And these hides only lasted about 2 years. Therefore, the bison were a very important part of First Nations peoples. This is bannock, and it is flour, water, probably some salt, and it can either be made baked or fried. And the natives ate it. And here's Bruce, our test guide.
Speaking of natives,
Yeah, speaking of natives.
it's pretty good.
Okay, now I'm gonna have my piece. We are down to the last of it, and I think we like it a lot. And the missing ingredient was baking powder. So it's not objectionable at all. Really kind of nice. Would be great with chili and stew. Winds up here can blow up to 150 km, and it's enough to about blow you over. Also, this is where the Chinook winds come from. The edge of this cliff is weakened by erosion and very unstable. Large blocks break off and topple to the slope. When head bashed in was first used around 6,000 years ago, it was about 20 meters high. Each time the jump was used, thick layers of bone, tools, rock, rubble, and soil built up. Today the cliff is only 10 meters high. Last year we showed you the cliffs from the bottom. This year we show them to you from the top because we were able to get in and had plenty of money to do so. It's a very awe-inspiring tale of a very clever people living with nature. Scientists found many burnt bones below the cliffs. They are not sure whether this was from prairie fires or from native peoples burning it so that there was not a stench of a kill to keep the buffalo away from this area for the next hunt. In order to have a good place for a buffalo hunt, you needed water. You needed water to help prepare the skins, to fix the food, to make the dried food. This was an excellent location. You had water and you had the necessary jump available to you, and grasslands that the buffalo liked. One of the things the native peoples did was they burnt the grass every fall. Reason for that was when the grass came in the spring, it was thicker and more lush and easier to get the buffalo where you wanted them, like up on this hill. So they would automatically come up here and eat because it was tastier grass. Of course, the buffalo didn't know they were going to soon be meeting their deaths at the edge of the cliff. And the people would be getting enough food to make it through the winter. The hunts always occurred in the fall of the year because with the cold coming in, they were able to easier keep the foods from going bad.
Prairie winds are always blowing. Today is no exception. hospital. Head smashed in buffalo jump. And this is where the poor dudes went over. Quite a ways down. Of course, enough to kill them.